Hello out there. Welcome to the post-apocalyptic, post-election version of the No Shit Cast. I'm your host, Matt Frazier. Hey, we survived, everybody. It's over. So no more political commercials. You can watch a YouTube video in peace. And in 2 years, we get to do it all over again. So, a lot of cool stuff been going on lately. Of course, we just did the podcast with Sherfu and the Occidental Taoist, and Sherfu actually sent me some stuff which we shared on the No Shit Cast on some of the papers that he's released on things like the way they're doing, or he's been studying doing testing of electrical fields and things like that as a predictor for a person's health and well-being. And so that white paper, he just released that to us. And like I said, we just shared that on the No Shit Cast. So if you get a chance, you want to check that out before we have him back on. Of course, we are going to have him back on to kind of elaborate on that and talk about that a lot more. This is some groundbreaking stuff, folks, especially in things like alternative medicine and things like that. But somebody to actually sit down and try to quantify this thing and put some data behind it. When it comes to holistic healing and things like that, that's kind of unheard of. And this is one of the things where people like Sherfu really takes this serious and kind of takes a clinical approach to things. So that should be pretty fascinating when we have him back on to talk about that in more detail. So Sherfu, looking forward to having you back on. Scheduling wise, it's been kind of interesting. I just actually got back from Florida, spent a week down there, putting fizzy sugar, caffeinated sugar water in aluminum cans. It was a great startup. I got the chance to work with a really good group of guys. It's a small family of people that do kind of do what I do and in the process world and things like that. So we do get to work together, but it's kind of weird. We never know when the schedules are going to line up. So Chris and Doug and Mike, just phenomenal stand-up guys, and it's great to really do a job with a bunch of classy pros that kind of know what they're doing. It was a lot of fun when you get to go and start up a production line like that, and then have a good team effort, and everybody pulls together, and then have the whole project come together. And when you see those cans flying out the back door in cases, job well done. So everybody's happy. So it was a lot of fun, a lot of long hours, but it was in Florida, so a lot of worse places I could go to have to work, and it looks like I'm going to be either going back to Florida or Phoenix here coming up soon too, for the same thing, sticking liquids in bottles. So fascinating stuff for me. I got to work on some new equipment, some an automatic rail adjustment system that sizes the width of the rails depending on the product that's being run and things like that. So this is sort of new-ish. A new way of doing something that's been done before, but it's more of an automated and electrical way of doing it. And it was the first time I ever got a crack at it, and it's a fairly new technology. So I got to play with that a little bit. That was a lot of fun. And get to integrate this into a pretty large bottler that's probably going to use this in a lot of other facilities too. So it was, like I said, it was a really good time. And then I ended up getting stranded down there for an extra day, which, didn't suck. Cause again, it was like, I don't know, it was 70s and 80s, and it was 40s here. So, it could have been a lot worse, I suppose. So, kudos out to those guys. I'm looking forward to doing it again here coming up real soon. But other than that, folks, I mean, we had a big bunch of shows here scheduled with Susan Cody. What is she? She's a pharmacute and a practicing pagan, and she lost her voice. And then I got delayed in Florida, so I was supposed to do some stuff with Lauren Curtis right before Halloween, and then that got kind of pushed. She had an art showing that got moved around on her, and couldn't make it. Our schedules line up. So all of this is still in the works. We're going to keep moving forward and planning on doing shows with both of them here coming up real soon. Not necessarily together, but individually. I know Lauren's got a lot of really interesting stuff that's been going on with her from the standpoint of her graphic art and stuff like that. And then obviously we'd like to go a little deeper with Susan Cody on some subjects like, Halloween and Samhain and sort of the pagan significance of some of these holidays that we've had and some of the ones that are coming up. Kind of getting the historical, I guess the pagan historical perspective on some of these. I find this shit fascinating, so I love having these people come on and kind of explain things to me, especially things that, when it comes to holidays and stuff like that, and then the actual sort of historical underpinnings for them versus the pop culture sort of ideology of what they are and stuff like that. So looking forward to having Susan and Lauren back on the show here real soon. That's going to be a lot of fun. Talk to Anthony Hamalainen. A real interesting story with him. It's funny, now that I've sort of met him and got into the death metal scene and things like that a lot more, I'm running into a lot more people who are also into that scene. And one of the guys, this guy Mike that I was just working with, is a huge fan of the dark metal and the death metal and black metal and stuff. So I told him, I said, hey, there's this guy I roll in jiu-jitsu with, this Anthony Hamalainen, and he's the lead singer for this band called Armageddon. He was like, oh, yeah, I know them. So now I'm running into all these people that know who this band is, that know who Anthony is, and, I just knew him as some guy that I rolled with at the gym. So kind of interesting small world now, and Anthony's got some really cool shit coming up. I know there's some top secret stuff they've been kind of hinting around at and leaking out that there's a big project he's working on that's getting ready to drop. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to have him back on the show before that comes out to kind of discuss that with us a little bit. And I think he's going to have, a band friend or somebody that might be coming in around December, that the both of them might be coming in the studio to talk to us about, road stories and, talk to us about life on the road and being a heavy metal musician in a band and a traveling, performing band. So that'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that, having him back in the studio. He's always a blast, just a ton of energy and a very interesting guy regardless. So that's coming up. Kenny Schaefer's been a guest on the show. Those guys, he's got a partner now. They're putting together a podcast. Should be coming out here real soon. I seen him mentioning something about it on social media. So I'm going to try to have those guys back in either prior to their launch date to kind of do a preview, or soon thereafter to talk to them about the show and what they're doing, what the show is going to be about, and things like that. So looking forward to that. Stay tuned. We'll get you some more details. Kenny's a really good friend of mine, and a jiu-jitsu brother, and anybody that's doing a podcast, bootstrapping it the way he is, and those guys are really, putting something together here of real quality. So it's going to be a good show. They're good guys. And like I said, I'm going to try to have them on the show maybe ahead of time. We'll see how the schedules and everything work out, but I'd love to, be part of that launch with them and things like that. So more details on that coming up. Let me see if there's anything else. Got back to jiu-jitsu this week. It's been, I was gone out of it for a week, and I wish I had this delusion that when I'm on the road, I'm going to be able to hit these 10th planets that are in other states and things like that when I'm traveling and doing engineering work. However, the 13 to 17 hour days that we work often on startups sort of prohibit that from happening. So as of yet, I haven't been able to facilitate that. So getting back to the gym this week was sort of my first, week back. I was out for a solid week, and in jiu-jitsu time, that's an eternity. But because of the way the flows and the structures work, you kind of get out of sequence. So you want to be there, at least twice a week if you can. That kind of helps you stay in the sequence of how they teach it. Because the way it's taught, at least at 10th Planet, I don't know if this is every place else. I think Gracie's do it this way too, but it's sort of done like a system. So there's like a calendar for what you'll be doing on what day. It's interesting. It's almost like a weird form of, if you've ever been in a part of the Catholic Church, you know how they do the hymnals, and you sort of know which sermon they're going to be preaching based on a schedule that's months in advance. So I don't know what I'm saying here. Maybe 10th Planet, sort of the Catholicism of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But you kind of have an idea. You can look ahead in the schedule and see what you're doing, which flow or which sequence. And then, those are broken up, and I think it's like A through, I don't know, H, and then there's like 4 variations of each of them. So it works out to being like, I don't know, 20, 30, I think it's 20 to 30 different sequences or flows is what they call them that you learn and get exposed to. And once you show a proficiency in those, and that's kind of how, so it's all very systematic. So the more that you put into it, the faster you can get a belt or whatever out of it. And the more sporadically you're involved in it, the sort of what it does is you're jumping into the middle of stuff a lot, and kind of hinders your progress. It's not a great way to do it, but it's a way to do it, and it's unfortunately the way I'm choosing to do it. So, but like I said, I have these delusions that I'm going to go do this on the road, and it just hasn't manifested yet, and I'm hoping that it will at some point, but I don't know when that's going to be. So it was good to be back to the gym this week and kind of be back in the flow of things with the folks, and seeing everybody again. Still trying to get my coach on the show. I've been leaning on him a little bit. So I'd love to get him to come on here and talk about sort of his journey. He's got a real interesting journey from what I've been able to put together of, life experiences that have sort of led him to being where, he's a fairly sought after sort of person in this field. And, But I don't know. He just doesn't like talking about himself too much. So that's, what am I going to do? I can't force the guy. So, stay posted. Me and some of the guys from the gym keep working on him and trying to figure out ways to get him to come on and talk to us about his journey. We'll see how that pans out. But as of late, it's just not. So I'm not going to piss him off. So, I'm not going to piss you off, John, okay? So just relax. I'm not going to hound you, man. It just is what it is. So let me think if there's anything else. No, I mean, other than that, like I said, we got some guests that are going to be coming up here. I'm going to start doing some more of these short casts, sort of recapping things that are going on and things like science and technology and stuff that's sort of turning me on right now, music or whatever. And again, be a little more consistent with this, but, stay tuned. There's more coming, and we'll catch y'all later. Thanks for listening. Bye, Cynthia.